Okay, good afternoon. We will call the meeting to order at 5 o'clock PM, right on the dot. And can we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Martinez?
Here.
Councilmember White?
Here.
Councilmember Voigt?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Lara?
Here.
Mayor Finn?
Here. And that's to clarify, it's for our closed session. And do we have any public comments for any items on closed session?
I have no written requests. Rudy, do we have any callers on the line?
I have no callers on the line.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Pinckney, can you read the items for discussion?
Yes, the council will meet in closed session. Item B1 is conference with legal counsel regarding existing litigation. This matter involves Starlight MGMT-IXLP versus City of Beaumont, and it's that one case. And then item B2 is conference with real property negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8. The APNs are listed in the agenda. The agency negotiator is the city manager, Elizabeth Gibbs, or her designee, and the negotiating parties are the City of Beaumont as potential purchaser and JRT BP1 LLC as potential seller. Under negotiation are price and terms.
Okay, thank you. And we will adjourn at 5:01.
Put him on the D.
Say again. On the agenda. Okay. Okay.
You all ready? Good evening, everybody. We'll call the meeting, the meeting back to order at 6:15 PM. And can we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Martinez?
Here.
Councilmember White?
Here.
Councilmember Voigt?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Lara?
Here.
Mayor Finn?
Here. Thank you, Mr. Excuse me, Council, can we have a report out of closed session?
Yes, the council met in closed session. Item B1 was conference with legal counsel regarding existing litigation in the Starlight MGMT IXLP versus City of Beaumont case. There was no reportable action taken in closed session. Item B2 was conference with real property negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8. The APNs are listed on the agenda. The agency negotiator, the city manager, Elizabeth Gibbs, or a designee. The negotiating party is City of Beaumont as potential purchaser, and JRT BP1 LLC as potential seller. And there was no reportable action taken on that item.
All right, thank you, Mr. Pinckney. And no actions on requests for excused absences, so then we will move on to our invocation by Police Chaplain Peterson. And then following that, we'll have our Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember Martinez.
Thank you. Good evening. Let's pray together. Our Heavenly Father, we are grateful for this evening that we have to come before you. We give you all glory and praise that you are due. We ask for your wisdom and discernment to be bestowed on this council as they conduct the business of this city tonight. Lord, we ask that you would help them to act in the best interest of the residents of Beaumont. And so, Lord, we entrust them to you this evening. Lord, we also want to thank you for Sergeant Darren Wan as we recognize him and his great contribution to this city, of his years of service. We ask a special blessing on him tonight. What a privilege and honor it is to recognize him this evening. We ask your blessing on him as he enters into this next phase of his life, and we entrust him to you. Thank you again for your presence here with us. We pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Place your right hand over your heart, please. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, gentlemen. Do we have any adjustments to the agenda? I see none. And conflicts of interest disclosure.
Yes, Mayor, I would like to disclose that I will recuse myself on J2 and J3 as my husband's employer is CAL FIRE, and this is regarding some incidents with the fire department.
All right, thank you very much.
Sure.
Okay, we will move on to item E1, and so World Down Syndrome Day proclamation. So I'd like to read that proclamation to you. Proclamation, World Down Syndrome Day, March 21st, 2024. Whereas World Down Syndrome Day, WDSD, is a global awareness day which has been officially observed by the United States since 2012, and whereas the date for the World Down Syndrome Day is the 21st day of the third month, March 21st, which is selected to signify the uniqueness of the triplication trisomy of the 21st chromosome, which causes Down syndrome. On the 21st of March, we create a single global voice advocating for the rights, promote inclusivity, encourage advocacy, and support the well-being of those living with Down syndrome. And whereas the estimated incidence of Down syndrome is between 1 in 1,000 to 1 in 1,100 live births worldwide. Each year, approximately 3,000 to 5,000 children are born with this chromosomal disorder. And whereas Down syndrome occurs when an individual has an extra partial or whole copy of chromosome 21. It is not yet known why this syndrome occurs. Down syndrome has always been part of the human condition. It exists in all regions across the globe and commonly results in variable effects on learning styles, physical characteristics, and health. And whereas the quality of life of people with Down syndrome can be improved by meeting their health care needs, including regular checkups with health professionals to monitor the mental and physical condition and to provide timely intervention, whether that be physiotherapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, counseling, or special education. And whereas individuals with Down syndrome can achieve optimal quality of life through parental care and support, medical guidance, and community-based support systems such as an inclusive education at all levels. That facilitates their participation in mainstream society and the fulfillment of their personal potential. And whereas on March 21, many people advocate by wearing mismatched socks to symbolize the pair of mismatched chromosomes, they incorporate the awareness colors of blue and yellow into their day, or they initiate, organize, or attend events that spread awareness. Now therefore be it resolved on behalf of the City Council to hereby proclaim March 21st as World Down Syndrome Day throughout Beaumont. This is proclaimed today, February 20th, 2024. And then I understand we have some public comments on that?
Yes, sir. Chantel Home? Yes, please.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Chantel Holm. Me and my family are here, Michael Holm and my two daughters. I just wanted to give you guys a personal thank you for proclaiming March 21st World Down Syndrome Day. Me and my family moved to Beaumont a year ago, and both of my daughters attend Three Rings Ranch Elementary. And it's just really nice for us to live in a community, especially one that's growing, that recognizes inclusion in our parks and now as a celebration. So we just wanted to give you guys a personal thank you. This doesn't, means a lot to us, but it means more to all individuals with Down syndrome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much, and you're welcome. Okay, item E2, the retirement and recognition of Sergeant Darren Wan. And as chief, are you taking that?
I find him in a sea of
Sea of blue.
Come on forward. You don't know how much I've been looking forward to putting this guy on the spot for some time. Oh, wrong speech. Wrong speech. Well, evening, Mayor, Council, ladies and gentlemen in the audience, and of course, all of our staff.
It's not the first
Our
time.
Police Officers Association leadership. I thank them all for coming out and supporting Sergeant Wan. So tonight we're going to honor the distinguished career of Sergeant Darren Wan, a dedicated servant to our community and a respected member of our law enforcement family. As we bid farewell to Darren on his well-deserved retirement, we reflect on a journey that spans over 3 decades. It's marked by unwavering commitment and exemplary leadership. So all the way back to 1992, young Darren Wan embarked on his law enforcement journey as a police cadet with the Riverside Police Department, and he spent 1 year as a cadet until he graduated high school, and then he joined the United States Marine Corps, where he served 4 years. In February of 1999, Darren joined the Blythe Police Department as a patrol officer, where he spent 5 years honing in his skills, and then was assigned to the Regional Narcotics Task Force. In July of 2004, Darren joined the Beaumont Police Department as a police officer, and he worked patrol and then again in a regional narcotics task force. In December of 2006, Darren was promoted to sergeant. And so during his 17 years as a sergeant, that's longer than a lot of our forces even been serving. 17 years. So he served as a patrol watch commander, ARCNet supervisor, a crime impact supervisor, detective bureau supervisor, multiple enforcement team supervisor, and in each role he brought a unique blend of expertise, integrity, and compassion. And his leadership in these roles were not just about maintaining order, but about building trust and fostering a safer community. So beyond his primary duties, his contributions extend to all his auxiliary responsibilities as active shooter instructor. I'm sure he's trained many in this room and in the school district. He prepared officers for some of the most challenging scenarios they might face in their careers. His role as the armory supervisor ensured that our officers were equipped with the tools they needed to perform their duties safely and effectively. And as you all know, he was our award ceremony coordinator as well. And he highlighted the hard work and achievements of his colleagues, fostering a culture of appreciation and respect. But most importantly, and we had this conversation, and as a peer support coordinator, he provided much needed support and guidance to his fellow officers, understanding that the well-being of officers is paramount to the well-being of the community they serve. And so, Sergeant Darren Wan, your career has been a testament to your extraordinary commitment to law enforcement and public service. You've not only upheld the law, but have done so with unwavering moral compass, empathy, and a deep sense of humanity. And as you embark on this new chapter of life, just know that the values you've instilled in our younger officers, the lessons you have taught, and the impact you have made will resonate for years to come. And so on behalf of everybody at the Beaumont Police Department and the city, we thank you. Your service has been nothing short of exemplary. Congratulations on a remarkable career. You'll be greatly missed, but never forgotten. Well-deserved. On behalf of the City Council, City Manager, City of Beaumont, wanted to present you with this amazing plaque, just outlining your dedication to the city and the department. I think we'd probably greatly appreciate some picture with
We want a photo. So why don't you come on up? We'll have you stand up here with us. And then if I can, let's get his comrades after this first, picture, and we'll get everybody right here with him in behind. So we'll get the whole group, okay?
They'll think I'm leaving.
Sorry, Mayor, I moved you.
Oh, my goodness.
Somebody's on the light switch.
Congrats. It was a 50-50 chance on which switch it was.
All right, let's get all the officers up here in the middle. All right, on the leg.
Need like a fisheye.
We can take some in the back, some in the front. Julie, you might have to go to the back of the room.
go ahead and gather in and just get kind of as close as you can. If you're, 6 foot and over, stay in the back. And if you can't see me, I can't see you. See, I'm just trying to stand here. Let me do a test here. Okay. That's fine. Okay. Let's do one test. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and. Just take a look at the face. Eyes are open. My gray hair? No, we're pretty good. We're good. We're good. Everything's okay. Smiles. Okay.
All right, thanks, everybody. All right, Sergeant Juan, you can't leave just yet. All right, I did. So on behalf of the council, job well done. Thank you for your service to the city of Beaumont. We appreciate it. Hearing of all the training that you've done is very impressive, and it helps make everybody better at their job and can better serve the public. And so my heartfelt thanks. And any comments from the council? All right. Big thank you. Thank you. All right. So we'll move on to item E3, introduction of new staff members. And Carrie, do you have that one?
Negative.
Oh, Robert does.
Robert
All
and
right.
Thaxton are going to take this one.
Hi, good
All right.
evening.
Mr. Vestal, thank you.
I'd like to introduce the council to our new project manager, Vincent Lopez. Vincent comes with about 20-plus years of experience, recently at EMWD, and then Cathedral City before that, and then some irrigation district in the desert somewhere. Vincent has a master's degree in non-engineering field, whatever. I'm just kidding. With an emphasis in finance. And I'll let you guys ask him any questions, but the last thing I want to note that he is part of the comeless, able-bodied person group, which I think adds a lot of diversity to Public Works, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Welcome, Vincent. You come
you.
from a great big water agency, and so hopefully you can, we look forward to having you in something, whatever you can take from that experience and bring it to our little small town is certainly going to be appreciated.
I'm definitely hitting the ground running. I'm already assigned a few projects.
Very good. All right. Any comments from council?
No.
All right. Welcome aboard, sir. Glad to have you.
Glad to be here. Thank
All
you.
right. Okay, we're on to our public comment period. This is for,
Sorry.
oh, I'm sorry. Missed that. Go ahead, Thaxton.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to introduce Mayor and Council to our Principal Engineer for the Wastewater Division. He comes to us with education and degrees in civil engineering from MIT, UC Berkeley, and a professional degree from UC Hastings College of Law, Mr. Kenyon Potter.
Mr. Potter, welcome. Glad to have you. So, we're good?
Well, I'm glad to be here, so thank you very much.
Lloyd, do you have something?
I just wanted to say it's been a long time coming, so we appreciate that you're here.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So, Mayor, I just wanted to say the reason we don't get to introduce every new position and every new city employee, unfortunately. And the reason I asked staff to do that tonight is these two positions are critical to the future of this community. Project manager is overseeing $250 some odd million in CIP programming, and Kenyon with the wastewater treatment plant. Like Councilmember White said, it's been a long time coming. We have a dedicated engineer now on staff for the treatment plant, and so I thought it was important that we introduce you to these two positions.
Well, thank you. We're a growing city, and that certainly adds it. We're
And we
We're
don't
doing
hold
well.
it against you that you're Cal Bear. Just wanted to let you know. Or at least I don't.
All right, thank you and welcome again. So on to item F, our public comment period for items not on the agenda. Any one person may address the city council on any matter not on this agenda. There's a 3-minute time limit on public comments. There will be no sharing or passing of time to another person. State law prohibits the council from discussing or taking actions brought up by your comments. This meeting will be open to the public and conducted in a virtual format to be inclusive of all participation preferences. Public comment participation is encouraged by emailing any comments to the city clerk's office or by calling in using the phone number provided on the front of the agenda. Anyone in person wishing to speak can do so by filling out a form at the back of the room and handing it to a staff member. Nicole, do we have any public comments?
Yes, sir. We have one in person and I believe one on the phone.
Okay, let's go ahead and do the in-person first.
Ms. Kara Frazee?
Councilmember Jessica Voigt, Councilmember Lloyd White, Councilmember Julio Martinez III. My daughter, you may have heard of her, Kajera Frase. She went missing. This is 1 year. This week makes 1 year that she is missing. I'm before you today to request that you please, I know there's a public comment, but I would like her case moved to the FBI. It has been 1 year. This is a picture of my daughter running track for the Beaumont High School track team. We have been talked down to by public relations through media as, what are you doing in my city? We have paid taxes in the city. My children have went here. Over $30,000 per year have went to per pupil funding. Over almost $200,000 has went from my children to this city, including the taxes we paid in our home living in this city. So I'm saying that because no reward has been offered for her. Not even $1,000, $2,500 from this city for anybody to find her. This is her on the end, on the 4x4 team. So no one has done anything for her. Yes, she went missing. She went missing on the night of February 23rd. And I have a petition signed by 785 signatures requesting that her case be transferred to the FBI since that her case has went cold. There has not been one lead found since they have had her case. It took them 18 hours to do a missing person report. It took them 14 days to put her face on Facebook. It took them 28 days to do a press release and let the city know she was missing. There's no acknowledgement that her case has been mishandled. No one has said anything about them not handling her case properly. I want to let you guys know that every day that her case is with this city, there's another day lost that the FBI could have been searching for my daughter. The 2 vehicles that were there that night, I personally had to go to businesses to get the surveillance cameras. And they knew that I was doing that. And when I got the okay from Jack in the Box, it took another 48 hours for an officer to show up on the scene, at that time, the video surveillance was taped over. It took 14 days for them to get that video surveillance. There was not one subpoena. There was not one search warrant to a business for surveillance. Do you understand what I'm saying? No one took her seriously. It is not in my daughter's character to walk off. She was 35 weeks pregnant. It was 37 degrees. She had a medical problem and we told them her history. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, on to item G, consent calendar. Are there any items to be pulled for discussion?
Sorry, Mayor, I believe. we have
Oh,
a
I'm
caller
sorry. I
on the
totally forgot. We have a caller online.
line. Rudy, do we have a call on the line?
I have one caller on the line.
Okay, please send it through. Caller, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yes, go right ahead.
Oh, all right. Yes, Council, this is Ron Roy from Fairway Canyon. Tonight, I have mixed feelings about the council not scheduling Beaumont Point for a hearing. Part of me feels a sense of relief. The absence of this agenda item has given me a break from the vigilance required to contest the project and has allowed me to take care of much more enjoyable parts of my life. On the other hand, however, the council's secrecy on the project puts me under the constant threat of a warehouse sword of Damocles, not knowing when or how the council will hear this project in the future. Therefore, to give me and many other residents who oppose this project and don't want to live with the project for the rest of our lives a sense of accountability, I'm requesting that the council post on its website homepage updates on the city's progress with discussions with the developer and allow regular public input on discussions. I'm also asking that the council give us an estimated date for the hearing, not the typical Friday before a hearing, but by the end of this week, which is February 23rd, so we can maintain a balance in our lives and have adequate time to prepare for the fateful day. It can be an estimate. It does not have to be exact. Of course, if the developer withdraws their application, that's welcome news too. I can always hope that this project dies without a council hearing. But if the hearing comes to pass, please note that I cannot read the minds of each council member. The only way I can understand their responsibility over this project is through the way they articulate their positions on all points under consideration or that have not been considered. So performative facial expressions are not going to cut it. Detailed comments arising from your mastery of the elements, including CEQA, zoning, general plan, and land use are what is expected. Now, this is especially true since each council person has areas of expertise in medicine, real estate, mapping, and construction, and other knowledge they can bring to the table when this project is heard. Please do your homework and prepare thoroughly. This is not a hobby. Also, please consider that consultants who provide the information on behalf of the developer are paid by the developer, creating an unavoidable bias. That's why their findings always support a project approval 100% of the time. Again, oppose the project. There are far better land uses for the 700 acres of land. For example, a discussion between the state, county, Beaumont, Bar Valley Parks District, and the city might lead to a better community use for the acreage. Finally, please find time to walk through the property, especially the hilltops. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roy. Okay, do we have any other public comments?
No other written requests. Rudy, do we have any other callers on the line?
I have no callers on the line.
Okay, thank you. And so we'll move on to consent calendar. Are there any items to be pulled for discussion? Okay, seeing none, can I get a motion?
Mayor, I'd like to make one comment on
sure.
item G10. G10 is the second reading and adoption of the amendment to the Beaumont Municipal Code, chapters 5.64 and 5.66. I'd like it to bring it to the attention of City Council that the attachments in the staff report are the accurate changes made from the last time we spoke about this in the public hearing. There is some confusion with the staff report in the way that it was written. However, I do want to assure you that the attachments clearly outline the changes that council requested.
All right, very good, thank you.
Mayor, I will move to approve items G1 through G10.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Voigt?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lara?
Yes.
Mayor Finn?
Yes. Okay, on to item H, our youth council report.
Yes, Mayor, we had no quorum for the youth council, so no report.
Okay, thank you. And then on to our public hearings, item I1, The California Environmental Quality Act CEQA exemptions Class 1, 2, and 3 for Stewart Park remodel CIP P-10. And so our staff report by Ms. Carol Kendrick.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Carol Kendrick, planning staff, presenting a request for the City Council to determine that the Stewart Park renovation known as CIP P-10 is exempt from further environmental review under the California Environmental Quality Act, also known as CEQA, as the project meets the requirements of a Class 1 existing facility, Class 2 replacement or reconstruction, and a Class 3 new construction of conversion of small structures under the categorical exemptions in CEQA. As I mentioned, this is a capital improvement project that proposes to renovate an 11-acre park known as Stewart Park. Improvements include relocation and upgrades to the basketball courts, a skate park, playgrounds and play areas, pathways, and improvements to the stormwater detention basin. The project also includes the installation of a splash pad, a new restroom and outdoor showers, a stage, multi-purpose field, picnic areas, tables, shade structures, walking trails, entry plazas, lighting and landscaping, and 3 bioretention basins. Portions of 9th and 10th Street will be vacated and paved to provide a continuous parking lot. Supplemental information was prepared to support the proposed notice of exemption, provided as attachment A to your staff report. The supplemental information identified the 3 categorical exemptions previously mentioned. The project is anticipated to generate noise related to the temporary construction activities, temporary construction vibration, and operational noise, which would not significantly increase noise levels near or within the project site. The site does not contain potential habitat for species identified in the multi-species habitat conservation plan and is not listed within a criteria cell. The project area is surrounded by a highly urbanized area and has no value for habitat for rare, endangered, or threatened species. However, the project does propose to remove 10 mature trees and some ornamental plants that could serve as potential nesting habitat for birds protected by the Migratory Bird Treaty Act. Pre-construction nesting bird surveys and monitoring will be required prior to the removal of any trees. This item was advertised in the Press Enterprise on February 10th, and property owners within a 300-foot radius were notified of this meeting. Staff has not received any written or phone calls, comments on this item. Therefore, staff is recommending the public hearing be opened and recommend a determination that the Stewart Park renovation P10 is exempt from further CEQA review and is consistent with categorical exemption Class 1, 2, and 3, and direct staff to prepare a notice of exemption to be filed with the Riverside County Clerk Recorder. This concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. We also have the Public Works Director, City Engineer Robert Vestal, and Community Services Director Doug Story available to answer any questions related to the project. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We will open our public hearing at 6:48. And do we have any public comments?
I have no written requests. Rudy, do we have any callers on the line?
I have no callers on the line.
Okay, thank you. We will close the public hearing at 6:48. All right, and now on to council discussion. See any lights? All right, no discussion. Can I get a motion then, perhaps?
Yes, Mayor, I'll make a motion to determine that the Stewart Park renovation P10 is exempt from further environmental law review under the requirements of CEQA and is consistent with categorical exemption Class 1, 2, and 3, and direct staff to prepare notice of exemption to be filed with the Riverside County Clerk Recorder.
I'll second.
All right, thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Voigt?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lara?
Yes.
Mayor Finn?
Yes. Thank you. We're on to action items. Item J1 or pension funding policy. It's proposed pension funding policy sets funding guidelines and policy parameters as a tool for maintaining and adequate funded status of the city's pensions obligations, and our staff report by our Finance Director, Jennifer Eustachian.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So something we have been working with, the Finance and Audit Committee, is reviewing the current pension funding policy. And in fiscal year 22, CalPERS had reported investment loss, which has a result of negative amortization for the city's pension obligation. With that, city staff worked with GovInvest, who is our expertise for the pension with PERS, and work with them on to first see if our current policy is adequate to cover our obligations, and then to provide a written policy that we can use as a guideline for budget decisions and council moving forward. So with that, I have a presentation from Dan with GovInvest. He's on Zoom, and he's going to take that over.
Hi, good evening. Can I just make sure everybody can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, wonderful. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. As Jennifer mentioned, we worked on a kind of multi-dimensional pension policy that really kind of manages the risks associated with pensions, as well as balancing the needs of the community. It is a dense topic, so I will try to move through it fairly quickly. But if you do have questions, feel free to stop me. So managing risks, we try to follow some of the best practices, and some of the guidance by some of our professional associations really, moving away from more subjective approaches to more how the insurance industry manages risks, measuring the exposure that we have and ways that we can protect the community against those risks, while again balancing the needs, knowing that resources are not limited, and there are many needs that cities have. So we did set out to refine the pension policy to incorporate what the cities are already using, a pension volatility reserve, so that the pension policy works in tandem with that pension policy reserve. And with best practice, we're using minimum and maximum targets, knowing that things change over time, and having a single number on the board isn't the way the private manages risks, and gives us an opportunity, some flexibility to work with the changing environments to best address the risks as they come up and change over the years. And so there are many benefits in having a pension policy. I won't go through these, but having policies listed out both for the community and the stakeholders help really understand that the council's intent is to fulfill that benefit, and it shows fiscal discipline, and it is considered a credit positive for rating agencies, et cetera. Last, considering all the risks there are out in the world, CalPERS, a number of years ago, really just raising awareness that there are a number of different things that can impact the most volatile aspect of pension funding, which is the market value of assets, because they are subject to market volatility, and the city has very little control over what markets do. So while these risks mentioned are a few years old, we took a look at what the World Economic Forum has identified as risks in the coming years, as well in the next 10 years. One thing that to note is that there's a lot more geopolitical instability. There are slowing economies, and while the U.S. economy still seems to be defying gravity, there are slowdowns in a number of countries, including China, Japan, Germany, and the UK in various forms, and we should be aware that those risks can impact markets and then the obviously the funding of the funded status of the city's pension program. So one thing that I wanted to point out is a number of decades now ago, but in my lifetime, I remember when the pension system was overfunded, meaning that they had the market value of assets exceeded its liability. And there was, as the good times didn't go on forever, PERS was in quite a bit of criticism for using tools to essentially give pension rate holidays, essentially reducing the funded status of the program, so as we talk about maximum funding levels, you could just kind of want you to have this in the back of your mind that being overfunded today doesn't mean that is always going to be the case tomorrow. And certainly when we look at agencies that issued pension obligation bonds and thought they were one and done and fully funded are now paying off their bonds as well as having no longer in a funded status, or have lost their 100% funded status position. So, we've alluded to the most volatile aspect of the pension program is the volatility of the market value of assets. The earnings are not earned in a linear fashion, meaning they're earned really through a series of ups and downs. And you can see there's been quite a bit of volatility over the years. A lot of that had to do with the downward slide of the 10-year Treasury, which is now reversed course, and hopefully will add some stability in the earnings moving forward. But nonetheless, markets change, and we write a policy to stand the test of time that will likely try to cover all aspects markets, all markets, and anything that we can reasonably foresee in the future. That there are two components to funding, one being the normal service costs of the city. The second part is the self-correcting mechanism, which is the part that is volatile. So when CalPERS misses their investment return, that the volatile component is we see a rapid ramp up of the unfunded liability or UAL payment. And so those two aspects, while they together make up the minimum required employer contribution, it is this UAL component of the unfunded liability that causes local agencies so much pain when markets move in the wrong direction. So to further illustrate this, you can see on the bottom, I've illustrated the investment return or what the assumed rate of return, what the actual is, and then therefore kind of what the experience has been. And so when you see when returns have been volatile, creating experience gains and losses, you can see that the funded status of the plan can move more than 10% in any one single year. And you can see just in this 4-year period where the funded status moved more than 10% in any one year. So if you were at 110% funded status today, doesn't mean that is something that will continue in the future. So where we are looking at today, when we had results in 21 that had a favorable return, our payment was moving downwards and flat. And now, after 2 years of subpar performance, including a minus 7.5% return and a small return of 5.8% or small miss, that we're looking at approximately 100% increase in the UAL payment if CalPERS earns no more and no less than 6.8% for the remaining during this term, and it would peak out in 3031. Certainly, if returns are good, they may change this picture. Certainly, the reverse or the opposite could happen, and this picture could become even more stark. But right now, CalPERS is earning at about 5% for the year, and hopefully they breach that 6.8% target assumed rate of return. So Jennifer did mention that some of the ways that agencies pay back or amortize their investment losses, these are policies set by PERS, and they include quite a bit of negative amortization. So this policy does consider that, so that when making use of the volatility reserve, not only to protect the community against those large run-ups, but when there's money set aside in those reserves, gives her the opportunity and the council to address some of this negative amortization and pay down the liability without, taking the default, which would take, in this case, 10 years of making payments before you've paid off that negative amortization that accrued during that period. So. So there are tools to avoid, things like negative amortization and excessive investment earnings. These are tools that the city has had at its disposal, but they all cost money. So having that all-important volatility reserve is important, so that staff can actually do something about it when markets unexpectedly, as they will, continue to be volatile into the future. So it is a balancing act. The finance director, first has to preserve liquidity to make sure that we can continue to serve the community, but also maintain the solvency of the plan, and then be strategic with those funds to say, hey, I'd like to maximize interest savings. So the policy encompasses all of those, with the primary goal first is preserving that liquidity to continue to be able to serve the community. And then when there are excess funds, that we have the opportunity to be strategic to minimize interest or to improve the solvency of the plan. And then, of course, report back to council as we go along. This is an operating liability. It is not fixed term debt. I think that is something that is overlooked by councils, that this is much more like workers' comp or general liability that stays with the organization as long as it operates. And so that ongoing governance, working together with funds available to manage that liability, help the agencies effectively manage the risk, as well as minimize the interest associated with pension management. So there are a lot of opposing priorities. We've mentioned trying to address long-term liabilities. But also considering the current needs of current citizens, there are accounting principles that try to match the cost of the people receiving the benefit with when you're actually paying it. trying to manage volatility. So we try to consider a number of those different opposing priorities in a balanced policy. And I think that's something that we have accomplished that in the policy that we have before you. And then we established some minimum and maximum targets. Some of those minimums really help preserve that financial flexibility or that liquidity to continue to provide service. And then establish maximums on the pension reserves, recognizing that the community has needs while we are still trying to mitigate the risks associated with pension funding. And then it really empowers staff, not only empowers staff, but really it becomes incumbent on staff to have, they've got a pension reserve, then it allows them to seek opportunities to reduce pension interest costs. When we have funds in our reserve that are between our minimum and maximum targets, and then what's left is really establishing the guidelines to achieve the goals within those policies. To achieve all of the goals of the policy, what parameters are acceptable to the community. And I want to point out, while these numbers at first you can get sticker shock, what we're really proposing is that in the pension reserve to have a minimum target so that you could be prepared for liquidity no less than really 3%. I mean, if need be, it can be used. And then really everything in between is really managing and considering the fact that even if you are at 110% funded, that can be, that overfunding can be exhausted very quickly. So really you can kind of think about really these two extremes to say no less than 3% on hand, but maybe an additional 10% above our promised obligation that is available in the event that markets change directions, which we acknowledge that the city has no real significant or control over. And then finally have some triggers to say if our funded status really starts to drop below certain levels, that the city would actually start kicking in additional funds from the budget to say we're not comfortable when our funded percentage starts falling below 60% or 65%. As you approach something like 50%, you might get to a point where it's very difficult to turn the program around. So these would be just suggested guidelines to say when would the finance director would be compelled to propose to council that they include in the budget additional funding to improve the overall funded status. And again, less important about the parameters in between, but a minimum and a maximum of 100% is what we propose. And we'd love to get your feedback on these funding parameters at this point. So this was reviewed by the audit committee in January of 24. We're recommending the policy be adopted by council as drafted, or would love to hear about any revisions that you might recommend as part of this policy. With that, I'll turn it back to Jennifer or council for further comment.
Yeah, so just to kind of give a little bit of feedback on that too, is that when we're looking at budget annually, a big part of the policy too is that we're also looking at our pension, which is our largest liability within our financial statements, and making sure that we are staying within a comfortable range of funded status. And then if we're not, to make sure we have an action plan. So it's just also to keep us looking at it annually and seeing the changes, and then how are we going to react to that. So with that, we're looking for any feedback, or if the policy, if you feel the policy is good, then adoption.
All right, thank you. And do we have any public comments?
I have no written requests. Rudy, do we have any callers on the line?
I have no callers on the line.
Okay, thank you. Do we have questions or comments from council? All right. Not sitting, I do have a question. So for any funds that are put into a reserve account for that, the interest that's earned on that, does that go back in to stay within that account to build so it's needed for a rainy day, or does it get automatically pulled out and applied to paying down the unfunded liability if we fall out of that desired range?
It stays in the reserve. And so it will stay in there and accumulate up until the point that the city directs for it to be dispersed to either pension, or the pension 115 could also be used to reimburse the city for any pension costs.
Okay. And so do we have a consensus from council to adopt it as presented? Go ahead, Mr. Martinez.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I was on the Finance Audit Committee when we reviewed it, and it was well received, and I had asked Jennifer quite a few questions on that. Obviously, you're comfortable with these numbers as a base start, I guess. What would be a good benchmark to go back and see if this is really a good number that we chose? Would it be a couple of years to let it, to review? Yeah.
Well, I would recommend that we're looking at it every year in budget. And so the policy does give flexibility to where we're not necessarily stuck on doing one number, but we can actually just discuss it and make a plan on how we're going to get there at the case. As you saw when he did his presentation, currently right now we're 76%. So that's something that we'll be talking about when we bring budget forward, and then saying this is kind of where we're at. Here's the parameters of the policy. Here's either available reserves, here's this, and we can have that discussion to determine how we're going to start moving forward to get that funded status up.
That makes sense. Thank you. So if we don't have any further questions, I'll go ahead and make a motion. Is there any further?
I was just going to jump and just give a thank you to staff and to Dan and to our committee for looking out for the city and making sure that we have those protections in place. So thank you. Go ahead.
All right, so the recommended action is to review the proposed pension funding policy and provide any changes or approve the policy. So I do move that we approve the policy as is.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Voigt?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lara?
Yes.
Mayor Finn?
Yes. So we're on to items J2 and J3. So Ms. Voigt's going to excuse
I'll
herself.
recuse myself. Thank you.
So item A2 is authorized to purchase a fire squad replacement vehicle from the Capital Improvement Project F04. That's a purchase of a 2024 Ford 550 4x4 diesel crew cab chassis, 10-foot paramedic squad responder body vehicle to replace the current fire squad. Our staff report by City Manager Elizabeth Gibbs.
Thank you, Mayor. That is the basis of my staff report.
All right.
City Council funded $400,000 to purchase this squad. I do want to make note that we have several chiefs here tonight. One is on Zoom, Chief Pemberton, and then we also have 3 chiefs in the audience. If there's any technical questions, the squad's 20 years old. It's time to retire it. We need to replace it.
All right.
That's it.
Okay, thank you. And do we have any public comments?
I have no written requests. Rudy, do we have any callers on the line?
I have no callers on the line.
All right. Any comments or questions from council?
Just one quick one. This will be ready to be put in service based on this price. So the radio and everything is all included, lights, it's all ready to go?
There is equipment that will need to be added to that, and I do not have the price on that yet. This is basically for the chassis and the body of it, the engine. But as far as the radio, that would be a county item. It wouldn't be our radio system.
Yeah, so well, good evening, council. The equipment will come off the squad that we currently have and then be put onto the new squad. So, and then the communications equipment, the radios and stuff, that's part of our, the contract that we have with the county. And I have Chief Fish here that can attest to that. So that should be the price of the squad.
Thank you very much, Chief.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
that.
Okay, Mr. White?
So we will be under budget of the 400,000, I assume, correct?
Yes, however, I did ask for a contingency of 10% in case there's any minor changes in delivery. There'll be what we call a build inspection, and so 2 of the county employees will fly to New York and look at the build, and so that's an estimate on the $3,200. So I did ask for a 10% contingency.
But the equipment will be less than 100,000.
Oh, it should, yes, yes.
Okay.
Mike, you're still, your lights on. You still good? Okay, Ms. Martinez?
And I assume the New York thing is because they're getting hard to find, I'm assuming, and.
The county uses what's called a cooperative service where we refer to it as piggybacking. And so the build for the company that is through this cooperative is in New York, and that's where it will actually be built.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ram.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion if we're ready.
I will move to approve the recommended action.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lara?
Yes.
Mayor Finn?
Yes. Okay, and then on to item excuse me, I can't talk tonight. Item J3, authorize the city manager to send a formal letter to Fire Chief Bill Weiser to fund a 4-person fire truck company at Fire Station 106. Back to you, Ms. Gibbs.
So included in the current adopted fiscal year 23-24 budget, council authorized $1.1 million to outfit the new Station 106, which is set to open here in the coming weeks. Part of that process, although we own the building and we did the construction, we have to notify the county and CAL FIRE to staff that station. And if you recall the conversation, the fire ladder truck requires 12 individual bodies at different ranks. The Chief Weiser has committed that the county will fund 3 of those 12 positions. We need to fund 9 of those positions, and in order for them to start doing the hiring, we have to send a letter to them to say, the station's getting ready to open. We need you to outfit the station with the appropriate personnel. And so I reached out to Chief Weiser and I asked him to make a recommendation, as I do with all the department heads, to say, what does the staffing needs look like? We had already pre-funded these positions in anticipation of the station opening. So the money is there, however, it's over my signing authority. Council needs to give me the authority to request the staffing level. And so we are requesting 9 positions, and they're outlined in the staff report. We did budget for a half a year. We are almost through month 8 of the fiscal year. And so there will be somewhat of a cost savings on that 1.1 million. The Chief Weiser recommended 3 fire captains, 3 fire apparatus engineers, and 3 firefighter 2 medics. And so they will go out and start actively doing that hiring process once council gives me permission to send them the letter.
All right, thank you. Do we have any public comments?
I have no written requests. Rudy, do we have any callers on the line?
I have no callers on the line.
Okay, thank you. So I'll start off with a question. So once this is if this was authorized, then we would go out to start that recruiting process right away, or do we wait for the station to open, or wait for the fire truck to be delivered? How will that work?
So that would be a question for the county, and that's why I asked them to be here, because I'm not familiar with their hiring practices. All we're doing tonight is saying we are ready, the station's going to open. please man it with the appropriate staff. The fire truck the ladder truck that the city purchased, the $2.4 million ladder truck will not be delivered until roughly around 2025. But in the meantime, we'll have to, the way I understand it, is borrow an engine, which is going to require bodies in and of itself, and that would be the 9 bodies that we need. The ladder truck requires 12. The county would come in and fund the other 3 at such time as the ladder truck is delivered.
Okay, so we'll have a truck in, so the goal is to have the truck for the firefighters to operate with, okay. Any other questions? Mr. Martinez?
Yeah, just real quickly. So I appreciate Chief Weiser's letter to you that, in which he stated that he would cover the 3 staff positions, the additional 3 staff positions. However, my question has to do with the length of that agreement. Is this something that the county has offered as it goes through, or is this a couple-year commitment? Seeing that this is a regional benefit, I would hope that the county would consider keeping this consistent, but is there any type of discussions on how long their offer would be to the city?
The discussions that I've had with Chief Weiser were indefinite.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem?
I'm just curious, are you guys still having struggles hiring folks, or is that not an issue anymore?
So not only our department, but every department is struggling
Okay.
of hiring. It's a process that we have to do, is go through the hiring. But we still cover the stations. Unfortunately, sometimes it's either filling up with overtime, or sometimes it's people getting mandatory, what we call forced on duty, to cover days if we had a vacancy due to sickness or something. But we do have a very active recruitment going on in the department. Chief Weiser has been working with our Sacramento staff, with the CAL FIRE staff and Cal HR to try to help and come up with and solve problems of the hiring, particularly the paramedic ranks.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you. Back to you, Mr. Martinez.
Yeah, one more question. So, Elizabeth, with the MOU now changing work hours from 72 to 66, I remember we had talked with Jennifer about modeling our budget. Has the budget been accounted for to account for the new 66 requirement?
No, it hasn't. The actual, according to the MOU, that is supposed to take effect in November of 2024, which is the next budget year. However, the county has a policy that any new station that opens automatically goes to the 66-hour work week. So there is some cost savings, like I mentioned before, because we budgeted for 6 months from January to June. And so there is the potential that we would have to come back for a budget amendment if we open the station in March with the 66-hour work week, but those numbers would be finalized. There should be enough cost savings that we make it through the end of the fiscal year. However, it depends on when the station opens and how many bodies they can staff it with.
And is it your intention with Ms. Eustachian to bring back a new model with the new numbers, obviously?
Absolutely. If we have to do a budget amendment, we would show you that modeling, and then with the next year's budget adoption that we're working on right now, we would show you that modeling as well.
Very well. Thank you. That's all here.
Okay, I think we're good on discussion. We have a motion?
Yep. Mayor, I'll make a motion to authorize the city manager to send a formal letter to Bill Weiser, Chief of Riverside County Fire Department, CAL FIRE Riverside Unit, authorizing a contract amendment to fund 9 staffing positions for the new fire station.
I'll second that. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lara?
Yes.
Mayor Finn?
Yes. Okay, we'll invite Ms. Voigt back in. All right, there she is.
Mayor, I'm going to go ahead and take off for the rest of the evening.
Okay.
We voted on all the items we have, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Oh, just the attorney invoices, but I think we'll be okay.
I think you guys can cover that.
All right, thank you. Enjoy your evening with your family.
Thank you for the confidence.
On this next item, item J4, because it involves my law firm, I'm recusing myself.
All right, thank you. So item J4 being an approval of the city attorney invoices for the month of January 2024. And do we have any public comments?
I have no written request. Rudy, do we have any callers on the line?
I have no callers on the line.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any council questions or ready for a motion?
Sure, Mayor, if there are no questions, I'll make a motion to approve invoices in the amount of $116,744.25.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember Voigt?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lara?
Yes.
Mayor Finn?
Yes. On to item K, legislative updates and discussion. Somebody let council know. Doug, can you get that for us? Thank you.
Mayor, I do not have a legislative update tonight. Christina is still traveling, so we'll have one for your next meeting.
Okay, all right, thank you. Item L, economic development update.
The meeting was canceled last week, and so there's no update.
Okay. And our city treasurer's report, is absent this evening, and our city clerk is called in sick this evening. I hope she gets well quickly. And so, perfect timing, Mr. Pinckney. Do you have any attorney report this evening?
I have nothing for you this evening.
Okay, thank you. And back to you, Ms. Gibbs, for a city manager report.
The only report I have tonight is there's been a lot of questions about how the wastewater treatment plant has been handling the influent flows with all of the rainstorms, including the one we're having right now. So I left at your seats a depiction. Thaxton put together a great graph of how the treatment plant is handling these atmospheric river storms like a champ. So your $100 million asset is doing its job.
Very good. Mr. Van Bell, you have anything to add for that, since you're up there?
Yeah, I'd be remiss if I didn't take the opportunity to recognize our staff for manning the plant and everything else. And I could go on talking about numbers and everything, but I think the graph's a real visual, tells a story of how much flow and such we've handled. I represent the city of Beaumont on the SARTA Committee, Santa Ana River Dischargers, and in conversations with them in the aftermath, a number of our neighboring agencies actually had spills or had to divert flows to their local discharge creeks or even make arrangements to flow into other systems. And we, with our new plant, did not. So we're very proud of that. And the plant performed so well, I think at a time when it benefits us, it's probably worthy of a study to get a re-rating at a higher flow rate approval, and that could potentially, save millions of dollars in the future by putting off expansion. So,
very nice.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, good job. Thank you.
That's really exciting. I bug Thaxton all the time about the flows and how the rain is being handled because in the past, obviously, we've had a lot of what I'll call breaches or overflows, which can lead to high penalties with Water Board. Water Board, I bet, is extremely happy with this. And it's really exciting to finally see some of the benefits of what we've invested in pay off as something as simple as rainfall, right? So I appreciate you tolerating my questions on that.
I appreciate you asking. It's always good to talk about it in a good light. Usually we don't come up unless there's something wrong. But yeah, we really appreciate that you take interest and staff values that as well.
I'll pass our appreciation on to staff, please.
And then one last announcement.
Sure.
I'd like to, Mayor Pro Tem Lara will appreciate this. Palm Avenue and 6th Street had 0 flooding thanks to Public Works Department. For the first time in my 30 years, we actually had a curb at Palm and 6th Street.
All right, awesome, thank you. On to item Q, future agenda items. We've got a short list there. Is there any additions to that or any kind of updates or anything to pass on noteworthy? Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, we had discussed a little bit about coming back with the options to design guidelines as a future agenda.
We did.
Okay,
We'll add that.
okay, thank you, that's all.
Okay, and then I do have one, and we did it last year, but perhaps it can be in your city manager report for next meeting, a summary of our DC legislative trip of,
That's scheduled for, if not this next meeting, it'll be March 19th. It'll be similar to what we've done in the past on our trips.
very good, thank you. Anything else? Okay, on to council reports. Mayor Pro Tem, I'll ask you to go first.
Thank you, Mayor. Only thing I have to report is I had the honor of attending Donuts with Dispatch this morning. It was a fantastic event, very well supported by officers there. It was great to see them all. And I did want to mention 3 individuals. I thought it was fantastic. Danielle, Nicole, and is it Gianna? They actually worked the counter and took orders.
Oh, cool.
And one of them, this was after a shift that they had already done, came in and they had red aprons and they took the orders and harassed me, which is nice. So, but I just thought it was great to see that camaraderie. And that, you know, that just lends itself to the character of the staff that we have in our police department. So, yeah, they did. They had the little headset on and everything. So it was great to see that. So I was very proud of our dispatchers. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. White?
On the 7th, I had the opportunity to attend the ribbon cutting for our Blossom Apartments and an excellent partnership that we have with the county. So just a great opportunity. Thank you, Mayor, for speaking. I think you did a great job there. And was really touching just to see and hear the impacts of that community there. So a great event. I truly, truly enjoyed it.
All right, thank you. Mr. Martinez?
Yeah, no report. I'll have comments on our report for DC comes out, so thank you.
Okay, thank you. And a couple things I wanted to add. One is I was at the Beaumont Chamber Breakfast where Christina Taylor had presented our downtown plan, and so appreciate that. She was very thorough and so forth, and it was well received by the community and knowing that we have our attention on downtown. And I also attended the Blossom apartment complex ribbon cutting, and Chief, I met a young man who wants to be a police officer. He is 8 years old. I will give you his name after the meeting. But a neat story with that young man is when we had our winter festival, he came up and he wanted to meet the mayor. And so I said hello to him, introduced himself, and then turns out he is a new resident at that apartment complex. And I remembered him and his mom and got a chance to have a fun conversation with him. So I encouraged him to work his way up the ranks and so forth. So it was really touching, and it was a neat experience, and it's a great addition to the city. So we appreciate Link Housing for putting that together. So with that, I will adjourn the meeting at 7:32.